LEGO has a very easy-to-use system for programming WeDo robotics motors and sensors. The program is not written using lines of code and words. Instead, images are used. These images, or blocks, are placed on the screen from the palette below to make a program which will run the sensors of the Rube Goldberg machine. Conditions that are related to each other are created by placing blocks attached to each other in a particular order. If the program needs to be stopped at any time, the red square on the bottom right corner can be clicked. Begin by creating the program for the sound sensor. This program will start the entire Rube Goldberg cycle. Place a Start on Key Press block into the open field. The Start key begins the function of the program when you press a specific key. To change the key being used, place your cursor on top of the block and simply type in which key or letter will start the program. These will be changed later on. Now you can place the Wait For block next to the Start on Key block and attach the Sound Sensor block underneath it. Remove the text box which was there previously by dragging the icon into the palette below until a star appears beside it. This means that the program will finish executing the Wait For block when it has detected a sound. Place the Display block next onto the program. This block is set off with a sound sensor, so you can display the custom message, Sound Received. To do this, put your cursor on top of the text box until the letter T appears, then type the message. Attach the Motor That Way block to the right of the existing blocks on the program. You want this motor to run after a sound is received by the sensor. You must also make sure that the motor is turning the correct way based on your application. Thus, the Motor This Way block may be used if you want the motor to spin in the other direction. Finally, you will place a timer for how long the motor is going to run for, so that it does not continuously rotate throughout the whole process. Place a Motor On For block onto the program. The timer works in 1/10 of a second intervals. Therefore, the time can be changed by placing the cursor on the text box and typing in the number of seconds you want the timer to run, multiplied by 10. For the Rube Goldberg machine Enable created, 0.6 seconds was chosen by typing in 6. Now you can start creating a program to control your pulley system. The process is very similar to the first one, but it contains a motion sensor instead. Place a Start on Key Press block below the first program. Add the Wait For block onto the program and attach the motion sensor block underneath it. Remove the text box the same as before by dragging it to the palette. Place the Add to Display block next on the block. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, the pulley mechanism starts after a ball is seen by the sensor, so the custom message is Sensed Ball. Now, put the Motor Power block into the program. This controls the amount of power given to a particular motor from a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the greatest amount of power. The more power you add, the faster the motor rotates. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, a power level of 7 was used. Place the Motor That Way block beside the blocks in this program. Finally, you will place a timer for how long the motor is going to run for the pulley mechanism. Place a Motor On For block onto the program. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, 15 seconds was chosen as the time by typing in 150. For the Rube Goldberg machine, it was noticed that the motor direction was not correct in this program. You can change the direction very easily by simply clicking the block itself. To show the change in direction, the arrow will change. And there you have it. We have completed our second program. In order to control the second car, you will need to create your final program. Place a Start on Key Press block again just below the two previous programs. Place a Wait Timer block onto the program and attach the motion sensor block underneath it. Remove the text box just like before. Place the Add to Display block next on the program. The motor of this vehicle is to be set off by motion of the previous car, so in the Rube Goldberg machine example, we typed the custom message, Sensed Car. Place the Motor That Way block beside the block for the final program. Finally, place a Motor On For block onto the program. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, 0.8 seconds was chosen by typing in 8. As you can see, all three programs have a similar structure, so it is important to differentiate which motor needs to run when a certain button is pressed. Now you can change the associated keys used to start each program, so that all three blocks do not all start with the letter A being pressed. You just place your cursor on top of the key block and type in your preferred letter. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, the letter Q was chosen for the first one, Z for the third. Also, the motors need to be differentiated by being labeled 1 to 3 consecutively. If the motors and sensors are not labeled, the programs will not run successfully since they will not recognize which motor to turn on once a sensor has received input. To label the separate programs, press Shift and then right-click on the motor block. More right clicks decrease the label value, while left clicks increase the value. Small dots will now appear on top of the motor representing the label. You will need to follow the same procedure for the sensors as well. In the Rube Goldberg machine example, Enable Education has labels for the 3 motors being used and for the 2 motion sensors as well. That completes all your programs. Each one controls a particular motor based on specific sensor inputs or a particular key being pressed on the keyboard. It's time to test our Rube Goldberg mechanism.